That's coming 7:30. We'll have the always excellent Professor Paul Rouse as well talking to us about the history of cricket on the eve of Ireland at Lord's tomorrow. Plus Andy Mitten with us from Singapore. He brings us the goings-on from Manchester United's pre-season tour. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball. We have Ronan Mullen with us. Hello.
Joe, how are you?
And Richie McCormack. Hello.
Kind of wish it was over in Lord's tomorrow, to be honest. It's going to be a good occasion, that.
A historic occasion.
Yeah, and it was like watching the World Cup final, because obviously we've spoken a lot about the fact that cricket doesn't get free-to-air television much anymore, if at all. Actually seeing Lord's is just reminding me what a brilliant venue it is and how atmospheric, despite its girth, it still happens to be. And the fact that Ireland get to play a test match there for the first time ever is just brilliant stuff. And it's kind of gotten lost in the maelstrom of everything else that's gone over the course of the weekend.
It has a bit, for sure. Maybe tomorrow when we see Ireland at Lord's, it might hit everyone what a big occasion it is. Paul Rouse talking to us about cricket was making the point that 1860s and 1870s, it was without question, and this is genuinely hard to take on board in some respects, the most popular game in the country. The most popular game in Ireland in the 1860s and 70s. Cricket. And then you would presume what happened was the 1880s came along and the GAA took over.
Yeah.
But in many ways, cricket was its own worst enemy. They didn't have their house in order. They didn't organise things. A cricket union wasn't properly set up until 1923. There was no national competition. So that was a big part of the reason why cricket didn't flourish the way it should have. Like we should all have been playing cricket in school if the 1860s, 70s trend continued. Now there was, though, an element of the GAA also saying, well,
The Brits.
It's a little bit British, isn't it?
The thing is, right, this is probably a question for Paul rather than you.
Yeah, probably.
Do you know the way Rounders is...
Well, I'll give you my best answer.
Do you know the way Rounders lives within the GAA family?
Yeah.
Like, is that a trickle down from cricket's popularity in the country?
It's a fair question. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fair question.
Because they're not entirely unrelated.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. He was talking as well about just how difficult it is to date the origin of cricket in particular, because any stick and ball game, I mean... Yeah.
You guys going for a game of stickball?
Anyone who ever picked up a stick,
there. Got it.
swoshed at something. I mean,
True.
like, how do you date the inventing of something like cricket, baseball, all these kind of sports? Like,
But it's
it's
like the stick to ball thing is a very, general thing.
Yeah.
The actual putting stumps in the ground and having done the rather intricate sets of rules that do surround cricket at times, and the little intricacies about it in terms of deliveries, etc. It's a very, very unique little sport. Love it.
Dave has texted in saying, lads, Ian Botham was a hero in our house growing up, and we were pretty far away from West Brits. Was cricket a thing in your house?
No, I felt so disassociated from that sport, like watching it growing up, where I would have watched Sky Sports religiously, and like I would have watched cricket. I think, was it the 05 Ashes?
Yeah.
Which I think captivated everybody, and even the big characters in that I was sort of getting involved. But as a sport that I could go out and play, it just didn't seem like something. It didn't seem like an option, you know.
We watched it. My dad watched it a lot in the house.
Yeah.
My dad's like, was the ultimate Meath man, but like would sit down and watch cricket for hours. And I would obviously get drawn into that as well, to the point that where, like, when BBC were doing it and like Tony Lewis and Richie were presenting their coverage, like I was watching like hours of that. Watching South Africa and New Zealand and Pakistan, visiting, playing England, and getting a set of stumps and stuff like that from the €2 shop or the pound shop, whatever it was at the time, and sticking them out in the back garden, trying to pretend to be a fast bowler.
It's funny you mentioned Rounders, because that would have been the done thing in a big way. Like, that's because it's such an easy thing to play. So much like with tennis, after Wimbledon, everyone was out with tennis rackets. Like, I suppose cricket, Rounders was the nearest thing we could get to, so that's kind of it. Yeah.
Well, that's Paul Rouse on the way just after 8 o'clock. Two awfully greats on the show this evening, Rouse and Shane Lowry.
I thought you were going to say Will O'Callaghan's coming in. I thought he's gone home.
Will O'Callaghan. That's the Holy Trinity.
Shane Lowry's on the Offaly Mount Rushmore now, isn't he?
He is, isn't he? I think we can safely say he's there. We have, so in terms of Offaly friends of the show, Dahi Regan.
Yep.
Yeah, he's there. That whole Offaly 95 team.
We can't squeeze them all on.
No.
You have to pick one.
But if you're talking about great Offaly characters, the Offaly hurling team, Seamus Darby. Mundy, does he get a look in?
Mundy is performing at the homecoming.
I know.
Down in Clare. It's one of these things whereby if somebody from a certain area wins, you have to also rope in as many people from the region.
Yeah.
As far as I know, our Mundy's from Burr.
If he doesn't change the lyrics to July for the occasion tonight, it's a complete waste.
La ra 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 la ra 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 la ra 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 ra.
That it was won in July, I mean, it's just crying out for it, isn't it?
Somebody tweeted in a poem to do with that, I think.
Someone emailed a poem in.
Someone emailed in a poem, but there was a separate poem No, somebody rewording the lyrics to Monday's July on Sunday. And I think it was friends of Will down in Midlands who were trying to do it as well.
They're expecting,
it was disgraceful.
Oh, well, obviously. They were expecting close to 20,000 people in Clara. Now, I don't know if that figure has been verified and people are trickling in now. We spoke to Shane Lowry on the way down, so we recorded the chat, and he was certainly a bit taken aback by the thought of 20,000 people rocking up in his village, but they won't be far off it, so it's extraordinary.
Even today, seeing the pictures from, he was doing a media event in
I was
house.
there.
You were there, yeah. Like the kind of treadmill of doing interviews over and over again. But he seems like somebody who wouldn't lose his enthusiasm for somebody sitting down every 5 minutes going, so, Shane Lowry, Open Champion, how does that feel?
I know. I can only imagine how many times he's had to say the same number of things. But he was in really good form. He was probably a bit tired. It was more just he was running out of time.
Yeah.
I can't stay here much longer. There's a small little shindig in Clara. I need to be there on time for. So there was that kind of...
Des is waiting on the stage.
Des there on the stage, yeah. Doing his thing.
Saw him on Sky Sports News. Load of notes.
Des.
Professional.
Des Cal, yeah, load of notes.
Speaking to Andrew Cotter yesterday, Joe, you were making the point about the domestic feel of the whole thing, just because it happened on the island, and he kind of put our minds at ease that it is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I think if it doesn't hit Shane tonight, when he sees that crowd or has seen that crowd, you know, this should be the moment where he realises what a big deal it is.
I think that's going to be the first time he's in front of a massive crowd outside of Portrush, because you know, Boar's Head, you know, can fit a few dozen. He would have been in the house today with all journos, etc. But to actually walk out in front of a massive throng of people from where he's from, like, it'd be hard not to be emotional in that instance. Like,
yes, absolutely, I'd say so. And even I was watching the RTÉ News thing there, and they were talking to like his uncle on the street, and then his aunt in the coffee shop, and you know, everybody who knows him. It must be just extraordinary. So we'll bring you Shane Lowry 7:30. And you know, that crowd and that mantle now of being Open Champion, one of the things I put to him is a story Padraig Harrington tells about Paul Lawry, who won the Open in '99, the Van de Velde collapse one, and he was playing with Lawry. Harrington was playing with Lawry after he'd won the Open sometime, I don't know how long afterwards, but a bit of time afterwards anyway, and they were hitting into a par 3, and Lawry misses the green, and he says, like, he's berating himself, as golfers sometimes do, and he said, Paul, that is not the shot of an Open champion. And it was like this weight on him, this thing.
I'd heard that before about Lawry, that it was a massive burden for him almost to have won that Open, because essentially he fell into it. Like, it was Van de Velde threw it away, so he kind of came in sideways to it. Like, but he'd never really hit anything approaching the heights of that post '99, really.
No. Now, he was at Medina for the miracle, but totally, in terms of on an individual level, that was it. But to carry around the pressure every time you hit a bad shot, to be thinking, well, that's not the shot of a major winner. It's probably a trap to be avoided, I would think.
100%.
I'm sure Larry will do that.
That's Lowry's second line in my scripts from here on in. It's like Shane Lowry has opened his such and such account with a first round 67. The 2019 Open champion says, you know, it's that.
It is, totally. It's a complete game changer.
Unless you do a Padraig and win a few of them.
Yes. Then you're a 3-time major winner. That's even worse if you hit a bad shot.
I think he's all right if he's a 3-time major winner, Joe.
Yeah. Does Neil Delamere get a look in, lads? He's an Offaly man. He does, yeah. We'll throw Neil Delamere into the mix, says Dermot.
My neighbour Tommy, he was from Offaly. He is from Offaly.
Here you go. So we'll start with less...
That's an awful dismissal of Tommy, to be fair, Joe.
Less good news, and the FAI thing rumbles on. So, interestingly, Siptu, Richie, have got involved today.
Yeah, they put out a statement today, and Siptu members within the FAI have accused the association's president, Donald Conway, of breaching their basic employment rights. Speaking at last week's EGM, Conway said he couldn't rule out possible redundancies at the association, which employs around 200 staff. Siptu say such unspecified talk is unacceptable and that there has been no consultation over possible redundancies. Conway is running unopposed for the role of FAI president and is due to be returned this weekend at their AGM in Trim.
It's a fair enough point, isn't it, Siptu workers, to say, please don't be on the national airwaves and national television on a Saturday talking in a very general way about the possibility of redundancies.
Yeah, don't be vague about something so serious.
Yeah.
You know, just no comment it. You know, like, straight at it. There's no reason to even give an answer as vague as you did.
Yeah. So that AGM is on this Saturday. We had Dan McDonnell in yesterday talking through bits and pieces, if you want to download that podcast. But certainly, there were at least 5 reports still due in. The first glut of them is going to start coming in kind of August, September time. It seems the cost of these reports isn't helping the situation at the FAI as well, so it's just a right mess at the moment. And Sport Ireland, Shane Ross, haven't budged in their opinion that Donald Conway should not be running for FAI presidency.
Which hasn't gone down well with FIFA and UEFA.
Yeah, they don't like third-party involvement. So it's all a bit fractious at the moment. Meanwhile, the news came through last night on the Ronaldo case.
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo won't face criminal charges following an allegation of sexual assault. The Juventus forward was alleged to have raped Catherine Mayorga at a Las Vegas hotel in 2009. Ronaldo denied the allegations. Mayorga and Ronaldo reached a financial settlement over the alleged incident a decade ago, but the Clark County District's Attorney's Office in Nevada said last night they cannot prove the case beyond reasonable doubt, so no charges will be forthcoming. Their decision is partially down to lost CCTV footage from before and after the alleged incident. Newcastle United have completed the club record signing of the Brazilian striker João Linton. The 22-year-old has joined from Hoffenheim for a fee that could rise to as much as €53 million. He was bought for €2 million from Sport Recife back in 2015. Meanwhile, Sheffield Wednesday have reported Newcastle to the Premier League over their appointment of Steve Bruce as manager. Bruce signed a 3-year deal at St James's Park earlier this month and took coaches Stephen Clements and Steve Agnew with him from Hillsborough. The Premier League are now going to investigate the matter.
Lads, even Larry has a way to go before he rivals Offaly's most famous son. This being,
Go on.
says Niall, YouTuber Jacksepticeye, who has 22 million followers and his videos have racked up 10 billion views.
Is he from Offaly?
Have you heard of him?
Do you know how I heard of him? Because I had to do an ad in here for, for something that he was part of.
Which day of the week was that?
Give over. But I think he was doing like a live show, and I'd know it, like no clue who he is. And somebody goes, "Oh, he's a YouTuber." I'm like, "What?"
He's 22 million followers.
But there was one of those Paul brothers, one of those idiot Logan or whatever Paul brothers over in the United States. They put up his earnings for last year as well for a YouTuber. Was it 19.5 million, something like that, dollars?
Who?
Exactly.
No, not this guy.
No, another guy. But this is the money that's in being a big YouTuber.
Logan Paul versus KSI. Not to bring it back to boxing like I normally do, but one of the highest grossing boxing matches of last year was those two YouTubers fighting each other. So
Two YouTubers
at the Manchester
scrapping each
Arena.
other.
Yeah.
In person, not a computer game.
No,
boxing the heads off each other.
At
For
the
real.
like a sold-out arena.
Sold out arena.
But what was their sporting pedigree?
Well, they're both athletic looking,
Right.
but they're not athletes.
And never had been really?
No.
Not in a professional way?
I've seen worse white-collar boxing matches, Joe. They were okay.
And how much did they make?
I don't know how much they made, but they generated a lot of money.
They got a lot of pay-per-view buys. They got a lot of people every 18 inches in the arena.
Why were people interested in these two randomers fighting?
Because people are so interested in them as individuals that to see them doing something this high profile, it complements the two fan bases, and that's just made for. I think they had it really cheap on YouTube. It was like a $5 or something, but it just generated an obscene amount of buys. And it went down really well in the boxing community.
It did, yeah. So Jacksepticeye plays games online and people watch him.
Yeah, that happens. That's like a massive thing on YouTube. I feel like I'm explaining this to my dad.
I don't understand the appeal. Not
somebody doing walkthroughs of games.
Yeah, as if, are they showing you how to get to the next level and all this kind of stuff? Or is it more the
they're just like, look, I'm going up to shoot this guy. It's so fun. It's like, it's weird. YouTube is a weird place. Like, we've only gone, look back on this, sporting footage from 1983. It isn't, look at Maradona's goal from, the UEFA goal. There's this weird underlying world of people laughing through games, asking to buy their merch, and people called Blippy. It's
like the social media platform now as well, where I would have posted stuff on Facebook and Twitter and that kind of thing, whereas now it's, you just put up short videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's like the development thing.
Bash that subscribe button, Joe.
Martin and Galway says, Joe, you sound so 20th century.
There you go.
Sure do.
Yeah.
I feel it. I mean,
it's hard to fathom that the bloke who's most into golf in here is the most old school when it comes to YouTube.
Sorry, I'm on YouTube. I'd say I spend, of all the apps on my phone now, YouTube is the main one. I'm not into the whole video games aspect of it, but like a YouTube wormhole, I've been all over them. I spent a good month last month watching a lot of like Parkinson and Wogan back in the day, because it's unbelievable just how much culture has changed. There was one with Parkinson and oh my God, I can't believe the actor's going to have my head. Laurence Olivier?
Yeah.
Was
Two heavyweights right there.
Was it Olivier? Like big drinker, beard?
Oliver Reed?
Oliver Reed, sorry, it was Oliver Reed, excuse me.
Slight difference.
Very different.
Saw a picture of Ollie Reed in the Word earlier. Looked like a magnificent beast.
So look, he was. I mean, he was just a presence.
He was a man.
Yeah, he was a man. And he came out, and so there's a panel. I didn't recognise. One lady was from the royal family.
Right.
I didn't recognise her, not high profile. And one or two others. And it was just so sexist. So like,
oh my God.
So like Parkinson says to Reid, you know, and they're all smoking and now it's amazing and of its time. So you can't judge it in any kind of harsh way. And so he says, like, there were 2 women on the panel, and he's like, Oliver, what kind of women do you like? And so Reid starts talking about, well, she has to know her place, and you know, like
he's probably hammered, to be fair to him.
blah blah. And he starts like talking, you know, slightly dismissively about the type of woman he likes, and Michael turns to the other women in the panel and says, "Is that fair enough? Can you take that billion?" And they're just like not seeing a problem with this in any way, not feeling weird, and just being like, "Yes, I think so. I think I could do that."
There's a Helen Mirren interview that Parky did where she stands up to him and she's just not having it. It was from the 70s. She's not taking his bullshit at all.
Oh, really?
But if I could recommend a chat show wormhole for you, the Dick Cavett show from the 1970s and 80s in the United States. It's hard to fathom that a talk show that smart was ever on United States television. It's brilliant.
Right.
Genuinely brilliant. Some of the, like big stars, actual decent conversations, and Cavett is just a master.
Okay, I must look into that. I haven't described that Oliver Reid Parkinson exchange very well. Just watch it.
I get it.
It's just incredible. I mean, like, honestly, they'd both be fired and would never work in this town again if it happened now.
That Helen Mirren one is unbelievable.
Yeah, Parkinson does not come off well at all.
What happens?
He's basically talking to her as if she's like a bimbo. And as if she's just this, like...
You're not confusing this with Meg Ryan, are you?
No. This is like definitely 70s Helen Mirren.
Okay. From
like, oh God, trying to think of what even film she would have been in at the time. But anyway, she's young in it, and Parkinson's talking really dismissively of her as a woman in it. It's pretty, yeah.
But tonally, you could tell that that's just what he did week to week. But she came prepared as if to say, "You're not going to interview me like that."
Okay.
And it's very stark the way it plays out, you know.
I must watch it. Does he then almost concede, oh, well, maybe they weren't great questions, sorry, Helen? Or is he a bit perplexed by the whole thing?
A little bit.
I think he's revisited a few years afterwards as well, like so.
Did he?
I think they've since, you know,
because the Meg Ryan one was totally on her.
Oh, completely. Like she was, as they would say in wrestling parlance, arrived in no fit state to perform.
Yeah. Lads, forget cricket. Croquet has even deeper roots in Ireland, says Lee. It's believed that the first set of formalised rules for the game were written here in the 1850s. Tell Rouse to stick that in his professor's pipe and smoke it.
That's a bit harsh on Paul. Well, like, croquet's one of those unfathomable things as well. Knocking a ball against another ball through a hoop in the ground. To what end? That and billiards, never get them.
Look, you could put to what end beside most sports, couldn't you?
Knocking a ball into a goal. What's that about?
Yeah. What's the difference between watching YouTubers play video games and watching footballers play football? I mean, we don't need to address that, do we?
There's people watching this on YouTube right now.
Yeah?
And we better not ask the question of what are they doing.
We're competing.
Bash that subscribe button, kids. Bash that subscribe button.
We're competing with all of YouTube right now, which is a worrying thought. So
this is top-notch.
No, let's get back on track. So Shane Lowry coming up 7:30. We'll have Paul Rouse talking about the history of cricket 8:00. Andy Mitten on Manchester United's pre-season tour in Singapore. Then 8:40. Not going very well in many respects, and the whole director of football business seems to have died away as well. Paul Pogba still wants to go. Lukaku definitely wants to go. So Andy Mitten coming your way 8:30. What else is going on today?
Semple Stadium is the venue for tonight's Borgosh Energy Munster Under-20 hurling final. Cork meeting Tipperary in the provincial decider for the second time in as many years. Cork won it by a goal last year. Throw-in coming up rapidly at 7:30. Well, John Kiley says he's expecting a ferocious battle with Kilkenny in Limerick's All-Ireland Senior Hurling semi-final on Saturday. Limerick are the current league, Munster and All-Ireland Senior Hurling champions, but the Treaty come into the game off the back of a 4-week break. But Kiley doesn't feel that's dulled their intensity.
No, not at all. Not at all. I suppose, it gives us an opportunity, first instance, to take a break and recover after the round robin in the Munster Championship. So that was hugely important to allow the players to refresh and ourselves to refresh and reset the button, I suppose, before we go again. And we've worked really, really hard now for the last 2.5 weeks to get ourselves ready for next weekend. So, it's been ideal, really, to be honest with you.
Razat Adeleke has won gold for Ireland at the European Youth Summer Olympic Festival in Baku this evening. The Talis sprinter won the girls' 100 metres in a time of 11.7 seconds. It's Ireland's first medal of the Games, and Adeleke was delighted to execute her plan to perfection.
I don't even know, I just felt like I got a decent enough start, and I just tried to execute my race the way my coach told me to, just drive. And hopefully by 60 metres, from the lead, just try and pull away, and I think that's what I did, so I'm so happy.
You crossed your line with the hand in the air?
Yeah, because I don't know, you always have doubts, and I'm just like, I finally did it, This is what I've been preparing for all season, and to get the goal, I'm so happy,
Hopefully just the latest step for her on the road to big things. Israel Olatunde placed 7th in the boys 100-metre final there this evening, and elsewhere in Baku today, Molly Main progressed to the 200-metre breaststroke swimming final in 3rd position, swimming a personal best time in the process. Brendan Hyland set a new Irish record but narrowly missed out on Olympic qualification at the World Swimming Championships in Gwangju today. Hyland swam a time of 1 minute 56.55 seconds and placing 6th in his semi-final of the 200-metre butterfly. However, he was 0.07 of a second just outside of the Tokyo qualifying mark. He will have another chance to make the grade at the Swim Ireland Olympic Trials in April of next year. Dara Green also set a new Irish record, this time in the 50-metre breaststroke heats, before finishing 4th eventually in his semi-final and 10th overall. Callum Hudson-Odoi has seemingly ended speculation over his future. It's reported the England international winger signed a new 5-year deal at Chelsea worth £100,000 a week. The 18-year-old had been subject of a £35 million bid from Bayern Munich recently. Hudson-Odoi is going to miss the start of the season, having suffered a ruptured Achilles back in April.
Hi Joe, so glad to see the 34-year already a YouTube dinosaur. Imagine how I feel at 64. Keep making us wrinklies feel good, says Eugene in Belgrade. Sorry lads, I have to stand up for Meg Ryan. She's a shy person who didn't appreciate being asked questions about her private life. She was bloody right. I have to watch it back. I watched it a few times and I definitely every time feel like...
I don't think she was just straight batting personal life questions. I
think the questions were in the parameters of allowable for when you've decided to go on a chat show and promote a movie.
Which I'm trying to recall, I think was a dog of a movie. So she was probably a bit defensive.
Was it You've Got Mail?
No, I think we're beyond You've Got Mail at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a couple of years after that. It was when things started to nosedive in the Meg Ryan department.
Yeah. I don't know. What was the question Parkinson asked her that was off? JP, do you want to watch Meg Ryan and Parkinson out there on YouTube? He is watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Get a clip of the worst moment. Was it something about...
we should do live commentary of JP watching it.
Was it something about scenes of a cruel nature?
Oh, yes.
I think that's good interviewing. If you've made a movie and there's a sex scene in it, it's a kind of interesting area to talk about.
I think it was famously Ryan's first dabbling in such an area.
Right. I'm sorry, that's legitimate. Now look, she can definitely say, I don't really want to talk about this, sorry, it's a bit embarrassing, can we talk about something else? Yeah. But it just went awkward.
She just didn't talk, she stopped talking, which is, like, whatever about saying, like, this is a, like, can we move on to something else?
Yeah.
It was no.
The arse just fell out of the whole thing.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely.
David Letterman in America, in a similar way, had all these really acerbic character, and he'd get caught up in these things a lot. And just if he felt the interview going down that direction, he'd just give it short shrift and make a comedy out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Parkinson's not like that. He wants to do his proper interview.
Yeah, he wouldn't have that comedic bone. Like Letterman was brilliant at that.
Oh,
some of the Letterman, there was somebody put up a trilogy of the interviews that Letterman did with, I can't remember the name of the director, but he directed that movie Kids back in the mid-90s, early 90s.
Right.
But he was a really odd character, but Letterman liked getting him on.
I've seen that.
And just trying to tease it out a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and give him enough rope.
See, I've seen that. That's how much time I spent on YouTube. I know exactly what you're talking about, that Kids one. And he was funny, the guy.
Yeah. He's hilarious.
Yeah, in an unintentional way.
Oh, completely. No idea he's hilarious, but he's great.
And every time he'd say something, Letterman just started laughing.
Yeah.
But it all worked and the crowd loved it. It was perfect. A million miles away from Meg Ryan. But anyway, someone defending Meg's honour here tonight. Lads, what is with all the rambling? I'm dizzy. Where are you going next, Sean? That is a fair point, Sean. So Callum Hudson-Odoi is where we're going next.
We said that, 5-year contract. You're too busy learning up about Meg Ryan to listen to me.
What's actually going on here, Sean, is, to tell you the truth, I looked through Richie's Newsround at 2 minutes to 7 and quickly realised the news is there is no news.
We're in the middle of summer.
There is nothing going on, so we're just faffing around, is to tell you the truth. That is the honest truth. If there was big news to get to, I promise you, we wouldn't be talking about Meg Ryan to get in lieu of that. So
the top 2 stories were literally the news of the day. Beyond that, it's padding.
I often do think there is something to be said for, the 9 o'clock news comes on. Someone just gone. I'll be honest with you. There's not much going on.
There should be a threshold.
There should be.
There should absolutely be a threshold of what's news, instead of getting to like 26 minutes past 9.
Yeah.
And they're like going, oh, and finally. Like, no, and finally. I don't need an and finally.
Yeah.
I don't need that palate cleanser. Give me the actual news.
Yeah.
Then cut it off.
Anyway, that's just, that's my Tubman's worth. Sorry, so Callum Hudson-Odoi is staying.
He's staying at Chelsea. 5-year deal, $100,000 a week.
If nothing else,
that
transfer ban has forced Chelsea to get their house in order.
Yeah.
In one sense, because, like, granted, he's injured now, and the move quite well, or might well have happened if he wasn't injured, but I think
Yeah, Bayern would have definitely cooled on the fact that he's sitting with an Achilles injury until September.
The likelihood is he was going to stay anyway, but now that's copper fastened. I think it's a good thing for Chelsea that they're going to put their stock in their academy more than they would have normally.
Chelsea, Manchester United, first game of the season.
It'd actually be really interesting, that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think either one was going to challenge for the title. But the Chelsea story this year is actually going to be really fascinating to watch. When you consider that Lampard's in there, obviously enough, but they've had to tie down these guys who were potentially going somewhere else or going out on loan. Mason Mount's obviously being put store in. Hudson-Odoi is going to be made a fulcrum. Abraham, Misha Batshuayi. Like, there's loads of odd and interesting stories that if you actually, like, if Lampard actually manages to get things to spark, and I'm not exactly confident that he will, they could actually be a really fun team to watch this year.
But he's been given a bedding in period that other managers aren't afforded, where you're given your 2 or 3 marquee signings, and if you don't hit the ground running, you're at the door, whereas he's already got that buffer.
He's got like 18 months to 2 years essentially as a
Abramovich has assured him
period.
He'll get 2 transfer windows. And with the transfer ban, that amounts to 2 full seasons.
So as Abramovich promises go, he gets at least 1 transfer window.
Yeah, I know.
And it's there that he'll probably make a Hames of it, because he'll probably do all right with these homegrown lads who've been out on loan for the last 3 years and suddenly have their chance at Chelsea. And then Lampard gets handed a checkbook and is asked to go off and sign strikers from Serie A and La Liga, and there's where it all goes skew with.
Yeah. You wonder how big a checkbook they have these days as well, is the other thing. But
or how long more Abramovich is going to be there.
Yeah. Andy Mitten on the way 8:30 on the United situation. JP is watching the Meg Ryan interview out there now. He says, Parky opens up with a quote that says, "You once said acting was not in your nature." Again, this Parky's good.
That's Parky. That's research, pre-internet research.
Yeah, really, really good way to start an interview. You once said acting was not in your nature. Meg Ryan says, "I didn't say that." Parky says, "Are you denying you said that?" They're off to a bumpy start.
I'll be honest, not the best recovery.
No, he probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Right, last story in this riveting
stop the lights.
Newsround.
Caleb Ewan claimed his second stage victory of this year's Tour de France today. The Aussie won in a sprint ahead of Elia Viviani and Dylan Groenewegen. Julian Alaphilippe, though, retains the leader's yellow jersey, and Geraint Thomas remains the Frenchman's closest challenger. Despite falling at speed early in today's 16th stage, he required treatment to his knee and a change of wheel. Dan Martin moves up to 13th on general classification after Jakob Fuglsang, who was previously in 9th, crashed out today. And Russian boxer Maxim Dadashev has died from injuries sustained in the ring. The 28-year-old lost the super lightweight contest to Subriel Matias in Maryland on Friday. Dadashev had been in the University of Maryland Prince George's Hospital Centre since the fight. He underwent a 2-hour surgery to relieve bleeding of the brain and had been in a medically induced coma. A very sad story, that. Jason Roy is going to make his test debut for England tomorrow in their historic meeting with Ireland at Lord's. The Surrey opener scored 443 runs during England's World Cup winning campaign. There's also a debut for Warwickshire fast bowler Ollie Stone, who replaces the injured James Anderson. We mentioned historic a lot surrounding this one. Tomorrow marking the first ever meeting of Ireland and England at test level, and at the home of cricket, no less, as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just finally, actually, because we did have him on the show recently, it's worth a mention.
Pat Mullen will return to the saddle one last time and for charity this September. The Derby winning jockey, who had to retire due to a battle with cancer earlier this year, will ride on Champions Weekend at the Curragh, and he'll line up with 10 other former jockeys in the Pat Mullen Race for Cancer Trials Ireland on Sunday, September 15th.
Richie, thank you. Ronan, Mullen, thank you. After 8 o'clock, Paul Rouse on the history of cricket in this country and beyond. We'll have Andy Mitten from Singapore talking all things Manchester United. And up next, we got hold of him earlier on when he was on the bus down to Clara, Open Champion 2019, Shane Lowry.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Brought to you by Avantcard, powered by MasterCard. Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card, Ireland's only credit card that gives you interest refunds on purchases. Info correct June 2019. Source ccpc.ie. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At SuperValue, we love fruit and veg. And this week, we've got great offers in our SuperValue 7 range, like 3-piece lemon net, now 49 cent, and Royal Gala apple tray 4-piece, now 79 cent. And choose from over 40 options in our 2 for €3 range, like Sweet Bell